Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Championship Check-In podcast. Absolutely bumper week, Sam. We're going to waste no time. We're not going to go to Parkin's pick first because we have had our third managerial departure already of the season. Ryan Lowe and Paul Heckingbottom have, I think, quite predictably, would you agree, been joined by Errol Ballou in the job centre. The Cardiff manager was sacked yesterday, got the vote of confidence last week. This is very disappointing, Sam, because you think Cardiff were tidying things up and heading in the right direction under Errol Ballou. And here he is, 6 games into the season or whatever it is. And he's gone. What's your sort of immediate take?
Yeah, not surprised, really. Disappointed, really, for him and the supporters, because I think, last year, despite it not being brilliant, he was a pretty steady hand. And I think he had the support of everyone, which has been a bit of a rarity, I think, maybe at Cardiff for a few years. And there was a lot of confusion. And I think on behalf of him, a little bit of a disappointment that he wasn't maybe rewarded. And the contract situation wasn't sorted during that period when they were doing quite well last season. So it felt like there was a bit of disharmony there, maybe from that point onwards. And this year, I think, as we've seen previously with Cardiff, there has been something of a sea change in terms of them trying to evolve the playing style. It's something I probably have thought they badly needed at Cardiff for many a year. I think chopping and changing the manager obviously doesn't help. Some of the appointments I didn't really think were great for what they were trying to achieve. There was that period under Steve Morrison where they played, although they were attempting to play slightly more attractive football. I think it was the season they had Philogene on loan, who was quite bright when I saw them, and obviously that didn't last particularly long. So I suppose right now it's whether he's had enough time to change the squad around to be able to execute a more pleasing on the eye game plan. The other side of it is the statistics are just horrendous, aren't they? Start of this season, I mean, 1 goal, that Callum Robinson goal at the Liberty, new signings that we were pretty excited about. I certainly was in the summer. I think you'd have had them right up there, top 5, top 6 eye-catching summer windows, probably. Robertson from City, Chris Willock, Chambers, a few others that I could mention, but to not get any goals out of your forward players, your new forward as well from Standard Liège, the statistics not good at all, and probably the only game where we were relatively positive about them, bear with me everyone, was maybe that 5-0 defeat at Burnley.
No, you're right. You're totally right.
45 minutes anyway. Yeah. They caused Burnley a lot of problems, and I think it was this new style, or the style that they're trying to implement and trying to evolve to, that caught Burnley a little bit off guard. Of course, they're a bit disjointed, Burnley, and they continue to be so, I think, at the start of this season. But I mean, that sums it up, really, doesn't it? That's probably the best 45 minutes maybe they've had this season.
Where do they turn next then, Sam? Because like you mentioned, we've had, I mean, if you follow it through, like Neil Warnock, Neil Harris, I'm never going to be able to remember them all. Steve Morrison, Mark Hudson, Sabri Lamucci, Errol Ballou. I've probably missed 1 or 2 out. Well, it feels like they tried everything already.
Yeah, I think it's different circumstances, but I think when this happens so frequently at a club, you look at Stoke for a comparison, maybe when we're here, it just lacks direction. And I think there's a lot of that going on at the moment. It's not entirely or a huge percentage wise down to the manager at the moment. I don't think, of course, he can do better, because we've seen some managers come in the Championship in recent times and had an immediate effect. I suppose, Sunderland's another club to just throw in there right now, but they seem to have a concise plan over the last year, 18 months, 2 years, what type of players they were going to sign and what type of football they'd like the lads to churn out when they go out there. With Cardiff, it's just been, for me, it's not really changed from the days of Neil Warnock, really. And they had obviously great success under him, but They've not tried to change the blueprint in a big enough way for it to be successful and to give it enough time. I think with Cardiff, and I think you have to play quite aggressively there. It would take maybe a number of years and seasons for the supporters and the foundation of the club to maybe change completely to be like Swansea are, for example. I don't think that's realistic or going to happen. I think they have to play on the front foot. They probably have to play fast, attacking football. Not saying it has to go to back to front really quickly, but I think there has to be a tempo and an urgency. So I'm not sure how realistic it would be to really slow that tempo down and try and dominate the ball. So I think it's someone that's got to come in. Again, the name that always jumps out to me sometimes is like the Jurgen Klopp football, that fast attacking, pressure without the ball football that gets supporters really excited and gets those decibel levels up in the ground. So they'll probably be scouring the world, I would imagine, to uncover someone of that ilk.
I'll just read you this list just to round this out. This is odds checker right now. Nathan Jones, Stephen Schumacher, Omar Ritza, Alex Neil, Brian Barry Murphy, Nigel Pearson, Rob Page, Sam Allardyce, Ryan Lowe, Tony Mowbray, Gareth Ainsworth, Neil Warnock, Frank Lampard, Gary Rowett. We're just spinning that managerial merry-go-round.
Yeah, just quickly. I love the first two. Nathan Jones is having a bit of a time trying to win this Charlton rounds fully because they're lacking a little bit of impetus going forward, and I think that's what kind of needs ignited, doesn't it, at Cardiff? So that would be an interesting one. Obviously, we know why the link is there with Nathan Jones, and he'd get the fan base going. That's for sure. Stephen Schumacher, obviously, again, you would think that he would improve them maybe as an attacking threat in the final third. But again, I think that's a club that would be a gamble like Stoke was for Stephen Schumacher to plunge for.
Yeah, totally agree.
Plump for.
Yeah, Errol Ballou out of Cardiff and watch this space. Hopefully by the time me and Sam, definitely by the time me and Sam are next speaking on the pod, because it's a 3-game week next week. So the pod will be on Thursday. So they should definitely have a new manager in. Right, let's bang through these results and get to Parkin's pick, because there is so much to talk about this week in the Championship. Stoke 1, Hull 3 on debut for Narcis Pelak. He went under. Norwich 4. Watford 1, QPR 1, Millwall 1, and Sunderland 1, Borough 0 in the earlies on Saturday. Bristol City 2, Oxford 1, Burnley 2, Pompey 1, Cardiff 0, Leeds 2, Coventry 1, Swansea 2, Luton 2, Wednesday 1, Sheffield United 1, Derby 0, and West Brom 1, Plymouth 0 in the rest of the Saturdays. And it was Preston 0, Blackburn 0, but that doesn't even begin to tell the story in that game. Let's get, first of all, don't worry, your teams will get mentioned, but we've got to go to Parkin's pick. I'd hate to be a Cardiff fan watching this show because Parkin's pick Swansea, Sam.
Yeah, I think I looked at the league table yesterday, I saw Swansea up in 7th. I think it would be amiss of us not to just have a line or two on them. It feels very different. It kind of looks very different, doesn't it? When you look at the statistics backing up this fine start to the season that you have to say it is now for Swansea. I wouldn't ever pitch them in a cluster of teams that's going to be pretty solid defensively, but they seem to have, just tightened up. I think Lawrence Figaro obviously made a couple of saves in the most recent victory at Coventry, but it didn't feel like they were hugely under pressure. Played some lovely football for the opening couple of goals, and had to withstand some pressure. But I didn't think there was great chances on their goals. And I think if you look at the performances to date, they've probably only conceded chances really in the defeats at Middlesbrough and at West Brom, both by a goal to nil. So they've been in every game. I think that's where the statistics sometimes can be a little bit skewed, because they are the 4th highest XG against Swansea at this current moment, yet they've only conceded 4 goals. But I think the I think the lines are a little bit blurred considering the amount of chances they conceded on that opening day at Middlesbrough. If you remember, they were cut through far too easily, and West Brom inevitably at the Hawthorns are going to have a fair share. But in the home games and in the most recent victory, it looks like they've got a real determination. They look like they can defend their box, and it's not things I would have associated with Swansea. I think in keeping probably with the last knock-ins of the previous campaign, it's going the other way where I would be a little bit concerned.
I was going to say to you, Sam, that felt like a real grind for Luke Williams last year. If ever anyone needed the pre-season, it was him, right?
Yeah, and I really like Liam Cullen, for example. He's an excellent finisher. I think when he gets in for kind of good opportunities, he'll stick them away. But I don't think you can go into a championship season with so few options. I think they got Vibotnik, but he looks short on fitness to probably play the way that Swansea want to play and have that intensity in the front players. So they're really lacking in options in that department. I think Franco, one of the new signings, has been getting lots of plaudits. Ronald as well will get better. They'll get better. I think that was my sentiment at the start of the season, and we're probably starting to see the fruits of that. I just do worry about them as a creative force. So maybe there's a method to the madness, and Luke Williams has just thought, you know what, at this point in time, until we get the forward players up to speed, until they get to grips with the Championship, and until we can probably do a little bit more work in the January window, we've got to be harder to beat, and that's certainly been evident in the last couple of games. So great fortnight for them.
Yeah, well played, Swansea. Back-to-back wins. They are Parkin's pick. Sam, can I just give a quick honourable mention to Hull City? I don't know if you caught that game on Friday, but it was a bit of a mess, to be honest. There wasn't any sign of either team kind of controlling the game for better or worse or long periods of time. Obviously disappointing for the Stoke fans and Narcis Pelak to get off with a defeat, but really pleasing for Tim Volter, because at half-time they were 1-0 down. They could have been 2-3-0 down. He looks so cheesed off with it all, and they've come back. Player you like, Casey Palmer, kind of making difference, and Liam Miller as well. It felt a bit Sunderland Jack Clarkey, give the ball to Liam Miller, but Tim Volt was going to be so relieved to get that win, isn't he?
Oh, hugely. Yeah, massive victory for them. Statement victory, I think, given everything that was around the game. I think I was fancying the 1-0 for Stoke, and the fans coming out in force and getting that little upturn from a new manager. But yeah, Hull in that second half, I mean, if ever a manager earned his wages, couple of changes, and Miller and Regan Slater combining for one of the goals. And I had it on in the second half, and they were bemoaning the quality from Hull in the wide positions, especially Miller. And then all of a sudden, I think he was involved in every goal, wasn't he? Certainly put the ball in as well. That ultimately ended up in the penalty, which was a terrible double kind of error from the Stoke fullback. But yeah, that was a really big win for them, and it'll be a reoccurring theme, I think, at this stage of the season, with the amount of squad churn that they've had. Listen, they're still having a lot of the ball, Hull, but I think the most important thing for them, if he's going to stay in the job long term, is that they have a bit of thrust and they have a little bit of pace in the final third, and they certainly had that in the second half, which will be, what they'll be hoping to build on from the good work Liam Rosenior did. So, yeah, it was a terrific win for them, terrific second half, and with so many new players, it's to be expected. I think that the first few weeks will be a bit of a grind, and Hull will grow enormously from that, and we'll probably see the productivity grow from all the new signings now. They've had a few weeks on the training ground, etc.
Yeah, agreed. We're having to go through at breakneck speed with this managerial departure on the start. So it's good news, Sam, that there's no cause for a public apology today. We had to give one. Who did we give one to last week? Plymouth. None of our predictions where both of us went one way went completely the other way. So really pleased about that. Sam, if I can just touch on Leeds United. You've mentioned it from the Cardiff side when you were talking about Erel Balou. Massively comfortable win for Leeds. I know whatever the situation, you would expect Leeds in terms of, on paper and squad and first 11s to to beat Cardiff, but that could have been 3-4, 5-0, whatever. And I think sometimes, I mean, you'll speak much wiser than me as an ex-pro about this. I think sometimes when there's a red card fairly early in the game, it kind of, because especially if the underdog gets the red card and they're just like, right, let's just hang in there and kick the ball out of play and try and get a 0-0 here. But Leeds looking a little bit better. We can talk a bit more about the top of the table as we go through the show. But Ramazani in and scoring, and Farke's always one for never changing the lineup and keeping it consistent. I think they'll start to grind a winning run out at some point, as we always say under Farke, and very good defensively now. And I think Strauch and Rodon just being there all the time is going to be a big thing. I think they missed Strauch last week, but not really a lot to say about Leeds because it was so comfortable and Cardiff were ripe for the taking. Sam, if you've got anything to add on to Leeds, feel free. And then do you want to just talk to me about Luton and Sheffield Wednesday? Am I right? You're seeing Luton on Friday night. Is that the one you're covering for the TV?
Yeah, that's the next one I'm doing. Yeah, Friday night at Argyle. Yeah, Argyle Luton should be a good one. The only thing on Leeds, I'll just keep it brief and a little sideways glance. I'll have a Leeds fan in the chat. Please tell me why the centre half is taking the penalties. And I know this isn't the first time. I know it happened previously this season. And I'm sure he's got a good record. And that's what I want someone to tell me. But I am not having a centre half taking pens. That's my only line on the Leeds game. The sending off was weird, wasn't it? Because I think when you watch it in isolation, you think, "Oh, that's harsh," but then
well done to the ref, Sam, because it proves that players think they have to dive, but he, Nonto clearly got fouled and tried to keep going, and the red card still came out. I was pleased.
Yeah, and it was a definite foul, definite contact, and it quite easily would have ended up in a heap. So credit to Nonto getting back up, and he was 100% getting in for a good opportunity. He was beyond the last man, even though there was players coming across. So, yeah, that was a little bit peculiar. But, yeah, very, very comfortable. And as you say, Ben, could have been a lot worse for Cardiff. Luton not at it again in this game. A lot of plaudits for Danny Roll and his game plan, I think, kind of changed and matched Luton up, went man for man, caused them a lot of issues. And I think it was only... ultimately the referee, really. I'm not going to say that it was the most atrocious refereeing I've seen this season, but it could have quite easily gone in Sheffield Wednesday's favour after the red card. I think Bannon was having to be sacrificed, and he had obviously a big say to that stage in the game. Luton just still not looking particularly cohesive. I think the Carlton Morris double will do him the world of good. Obviously, I think the big talking point probably amongst the Luton fans at the moment is obviously they had two really reliable goal sources last year, and he's only going with one of them from the off at the moment. He's playing two advanced midfielders just behind Adebayo as it was at the weekend, and neither of them really are looking at it. So I can understand it. If Rob Edwards
Morris will start on Friday, Sam.
Quite possibly. I just think if he's wrestling with the dilemma that neither of his centre forwards are looking at it, it's a bit of a gamble to play both of them at the moment. Wouldn't you rather have an attacking midfield player who's in form or a little bit more confident? So, and I thought they looked really good for 45 minutes against Millwall the other day. The movement and Rob Edwards again. And sorry to sound like a broken record, but 100% they are doing things differently, and we've seen this with other clubs that have, Brentford are an example that have stayed in the Premier League, but Brentford used to be very, very direct, used to be very, very reliant on set pieces, and they've gone through periods of having more possession and trying to evolve. There's other examples in the Premier League of teams that have done it. I know Luton have dropped out, but I think there's a club now with different foundation and ambition, and I think Rob Edwards is just going, do you know what? I don't really want to be so reliant on dead balls and so reliant on my two strikers and playing back to front. I think it's a team that's definitely trying to play through the thirds more. I think the kind of quartet in the midfield shows you that. And I've never seen, Luton goalkeeper kick it out to the centre halves. I think I've seen the centre half pass it to the goalkeeper. They're doing that, using Kaminsky as the additional player at times. So there's teething problems, undoubtedly. undoubtedly. But I mean, it's his prerogative to try and change. It's probably a decision that he's made coming down this year. To try and get them promoted this year, but also to have a better chance maybe of picking up more points in the Premier League should that happen in the next year or two. So, this was a fortunate victory, no question. Brilliant goal from Barry Bannon, and the changes ultimately, I think, from Rob Edwards in terms of the personnel again paying hugely off. So great win, and they go into an Argyle game at the weekend confident, but still not particularly free-flowing. So that's a dangerous game for them.
And where can we get your coverage of that on Friday, Sam?
Sky Sports, Friday night.
Oh, you're on Co-Coms?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And even better news, I'm not doing it as a watch-along. I'm busy on Friday. So everyone, please, supporting Sam on the Sky TV and tweet lots of lovely things about the brilliant co-commentary, which did Ipswich Fulham as well and absolutely nailed it. So check out Sam on Sky on Friday night. Sorry, I'm looking for Miss Sting because we got to go to We Need to Talk About. And what I'd like to talk to you about, Sam, is the Championship Golden Boot, because a few of the front runners were in action and scoring at the weekend. To be fair, you were ahead of the curve on Madger. I'll give you that one. And he's got another one on 6 goals. West Brom, you left me open for the 1-0 Carlos Corberan West Brom win in the predictions. And West Brom stayed top of the table. Madger banging the goals in. And I know Sam's pretty high on that as a possible answer to the question I'm going to lead him to here. Duncan Watmore, again, is just having a brilliant time. It was QPR 1, Millwall 1, and Watmore got the opening goal in that one. He's absolutely on fire. Gus Harmer, I'm not sure he goes into the conversation as top scorer simply because of where he plays, but what a player, what a cheat code, what a free kick. Maybe we'll come on to that for Worldie of the Week. He's tied on 4 with Mark Harris, Sam, who we've been very big on, but big miss by Mark Harris. Maybe he just got his approach running in on that one as the ball flies across the box and he couldn't stick it into the open net in the Liam Manning derby, which was won 2-1 by Bristol City in the end. Ohashi for Blackburn. Now, Blackburn did give the Championship the top scorer last season, and they seem to have a great finisher in Ohashi, but that was a shutout, 0-0, and a very physical game, which I'll get Sam's take on. So firstly, Sam, given that with the parachute teams, you've already mentioned Morrison, Adebayo not firing. Sheffield United, Armour seems to be the main man. Leeds, I think they're going to share them around, the 3 off the front. I don't think Joseph's going to get 20, 25, is he? I don't know. You tell me. Burnley as well. Traditionally, last time under Company, all the goals came from wide players. So what is your take, Sam, on the top scorer race? And I'd love to just hear you on Hamer, Liam Manning, and Osmajic, and a bit of, we think, bad behaviour in the Northwest Derby. Sorry,
yeah,
no, I mean, at you at once, mate.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, no, I just think, obviously I'm going to highlight Madger because we've been quite, big on him since the start of the season. I love a striker that is so accomplished at finishing one touch, and I think all his goals, maybe bar one, have just been one-touch finishes. And there's just that degree of confidence about him now, and I think me watching him as well, that he's going to finish every time he gets presentable opportunities. So I'm a big fan of his. Again, I think, West Brom needed that striker so badly. But, yeah, he started brilliantly. Whether he can avoid injury and, remain in the form that he's in, we'll have to wait and see. Who else would I earmark? The 2 lads at Luton, I wouldn't rule out at this stage if we're talking about out-and-out strikers. I don't think much has changed. We're going to come on to Middlesbrough in a minute, but I think you have to say Latte Lath, considering the kind of run that he went on the back end of last season as an out-and-out striker. He would still be in my thought process.
That's going to need to flip 180 form-wise, though, Sam, isn't it?
It is, and in the aftermath of what Norwich did at the weekend, I know he didn't score, but Josh Sargent, I think, is a surefire
Good shout. Yeah.
Striker who should be able to get 15 in a good side. Someone just come in with that now, Robert Fenn on the chat. So yeah, I think he's a good shout. And then you've got a few curveballs, haven't you? The boys that are up there at the moment. Hadji Wright was my one pre-season.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. Yeah.
Obviously they didn't go with him or Sims, I don't think, down the middle on Saturday. So I think it's obviously down to the manager. I'd like to see him get a run down the middle, Hadji Wright, at some point, whether he's got that real clinical element or if he's better coming off the side and maybe scoring the ones that are harder maybe than the ones that some of the ones that he misses. We'll have to wait and see. But I still think Hadji Wright was my shout pre-season. I'd still like to see what Coventry looked like, in the winter and by spring. And then there's all the other curveballs, isn't there? Like Watmore and Hamer. And I mean, Harris is having an unbelievable start, isn't he? And I actually really like the movement for his chance. He's going
to play all the games and they're going to play through him. And with Smodics, it wasn't a player who was at the top of the league last year, was it?
No, but I'd find it difficult to predict that Oxford are going to create enough chances over the season for Harris to be, around the 15 goal mark probably. But his movement was really good. Little movement towards the near post. It just took that Bristol City defender a yard or two out of position, and then so that was perfect. And he just didn't connect on his left foot. But Harris a really good outside shout in that regard. What else did you want me to speak about? Osmajic. I mean,
yeah. What's going on there, mate?
Less of a game, wasn't it? From the outset, really. I think there was 13 attempts across the whole game, which kind of tells you a bit of a story. It was more about I think the diligent organisation probably of Preston when they went down to 10. I think Heckingbottom certainly got that fighting spirit in the side straight away in the organisation. The things you would have anticipated him trying to improve on, and that was the necessity down to 10 men in a derby match the other day. They have to improve going the other way. I mean, they're still a tough watch in that regard. Emil Rees is having as poor a period he's probably ever had in a North End shirt. So how you get the best out of him? Saw a few people talking about the defensive midfield players really been the standouts, McCann in particular. So they got to try and flip that, because at the moment, I think they've only scored 3 press, and they're certainly well down there in terms of chance creation, touches in the box. They're not looking threatening.
Three goals, Sam. Only Cardiff have scored fewer.
There you go. Yeah. And I mean, in the main incident, I don't think the Blackburn player, Beck, have I got that right?
He's on loan from Liverpool, is he?
I don't think he can have too many complaints, because it's basically him saying, I was just trying to kick the ball away from Dwayne Holmes. It was a little bit forceful. It's his word, really, isn't it? If he says he was just trying to kick the ball, then you have a little bit of sympathy for him. I thought he was probably trying to leave a little bit on the Preston midfielder. So therefore, I don't think he can have too many complaints. And then what comes next is just absolute mayhem. I mean, we've not really seen the like. I'm sure there's sporadic incidents of that over the years, but it was the aggression and the
he lost it.
The length of it. The length of it that he was with the Blackburn player was just incredible. Obviously, the cameras captured it. He's not going to have a leg to stand on, is he? So I presume there's going to be a decent length ban incoming, and can't have any complaints. And with them struggling in that position, that's just another headache for Paul Heckingbottom. But I think on the balance, you just don't want to lose that game, do you? Especially this stage of the season when it's and Blackburn are showing a bit of a new resilience. It would be, wrong of me not to say this is a game that Blackburn could have quite easily even lost 11v10 when they had a bit of a soft underbelly. That's not evident to me at the moment, because that's the change in mentality that John Eustace brings to his squad.
Just to close this out, Sam, I just got the market up for you. Madja favourite 8-1 now. Latte Laugh still popular 9-1. Hadji Wright 10-1. So a couple of your shouts are in there. Matteo Joseph, I guess on the basis Leeds are going to make loads of chances, and he's got the shirt. Josh Sargent, you mentioned. Kiefer Moore came in the chat as well. What we'll probably do, guys, we'll clip that one out, get in the YouTube comments, and let us know who your golden boot shout is. if you think we're being wise after the event, Sam was on Madger after about week 1. I know he got the hat-trick early doors, but we have discussed this at length. Let's go, not to volume of goals, Sam. We need to go to best goals. It's Worldie of the Week time. Right, we'll let the chat have this one then, Sam. Get your suggestions in right now. I've got 5 to choose from. We'll let Sam have the final say along with the chat. Nunes for Norwich, Sam, I really liked. Opened up his body, cushioned that one in the far corner. Nice goal as well. Nice, quick, pacey move. Sarmiento, just lovely to see him at it again, bending one in the corner for Burnley. Bannon, great technique on the left foot there on the volley I liked. Harmer, obviously, for Sheffield United. Clever free kick there. You didn't expect him to go that side of the wall. Looked like it favoured the left footer. And I'd be interested in your take on Rigg, because I thought it was just an instinctive move that a pro footballer would just do in that position. And then the comments came flooding in the watch along. What a goal. What a back heel. I suspect he's just that good, Rigg, that it was, well, it's the completely obvious thing to do. Get your thoughts in via the chat. I'll put a few up while Sam is speaking. What's your Worldie of the Week, Sam?
Oh man, I feel under pressure now. I'm seeing some of the comments come in. I mean, some of the Norwich goals were beautiful, beautifully crafted. There we go, right on cue. Kenny McLean, my old teammate, heavily involved with a couple of peaches of passes, and I think, you know, a bit of a statement victory from them. You know, despite maybe Watford. Yeah, I mean, their expectation has grown there from the outside, but maybe Watford are just going to fall off a little bit. That's probably to be expected, but a brilliant win for Norwich and some great goals. I was on the treadmill at the gym yesterday, watching them rattling, watching the rerun of the game, and yeah, there's a shout for Doyle there. I think the goalkeeper wouldn't want to see that
it's through the keeper's hands. I'm not having that one pen in the comments.
I'm not going to go for Norwich though. Sorry, I digress. Sarmiento, how many times have we seen him do something similar to that? Multiple times.
Warms my heart, that bloke.
Yeah.
Bannon, never fall in love with a lone player, Sam.
Bannon, really unfortunate to be in the conversation yet. Not going to get the accolade again, because his was probably the worldie last week, but we had a bit of fun with that, didn't we? Going for the QPR scramble. So for me, it's a toss-up between Hamer and Rigg. Hamer's is harder to do. I think we can agree on that, because the Rigg finish is a bit of instinct and a bit more spontaneous, but I'm going to go for the young man at Sunderland, because we've not mentioned them yet. It's a big game up there. It's the type of thing that I would do in the garden with my 4-year-old. It's not something I would have the guts to try and display in a professional football match. So for that alone, incredible. And he if you can catch a kind of back heel flush, you know what I mean, though. He just caught it perfectly. The angle, the contact, a brilliant goal from an exceptionally gifted young player. But, you know, that's fine margins, because the Hamer one it's a delicious strike.
Talk to me just quickly. It's just an excuse to talk about Jeremy Sarmiento, because just, as I say, fills my heart. Burnley, half our narrative has been poor old bloody Pompey with their fixtures, and not convincing. But can I flip it, Sam? Burnley have played Luton away, Sunderland away, Leeds away already, and they've got 2 points per game. If I'm presenting an argument, I'd like that. If I'm a Burnley fan, it's like, it's not quite happening yet, but look at all those hard. You and I are going to look at the run-ins in February, and we're not going to see any of those head-to-heads on Burnley's fixture list. How do you think Parker's doing?
Pretty well. I think with the amount he's had to deal with and the amount of players he's got at his disposal, it's not easy, is it? They got terrific talent there, but it's not easy probably getting that chemistry right so early in the season. So no surprise really that they can go to Ellen Road, for example, and put on a really good kind of display in terms of the structure of the team and defensive side of it. I think, you know, there's going to be times this season where they're going to struggle with a team that sits in and defends their box and defends in numbers, as Portsmouth did. I think, you know, we're not really too sure probably who the main source of goals is going to be. I would suggest they're going to spread it around as well. They're not creating bundles for Foster. I'm not sure if he's going to be a consistent source of goals. So I think that's probably the problem they're going to wrestle with. So don't be surprised if in the big games and away from home, Scott Parker can find a formula, but in some of those home games, they will not be maybe as polished as everyone anticipates them being. But I mean, Portsmouth could have been further ahead. I think they had good chances in the first half. Portsmouth fans will be feeling disheartened because of the late concession once more. I think that's 3 times now that they've conceded in added on time to really hurt them. But the squad is starting to look a little bit healthier. I think Regan Paul was almost back to his very best, considering it was his first start for many a month. So they'll be disappointed, they'll be hurt, but I think there were positives for Pompey, and for Burnley, it's probably just finding that rhythm in the final third. But with the caliber of player they've got, no surprises that they're winning games.
Quick touch on Norwich from me. Great win, Sam, 4-1 over Watford. And you made a really good point. I've forgotten about Sargent because they've got that to add to the Arsenal, a really good striker. Obviously, it's a comfortable win with some great goals in there. We highlighted in a video I did at the end of the week about the best young players in the Championship. Oscar Schwartau, the young Danish player, he's now in from the start, and things are looking like they're moving under Johannes Hoff Torra. I'd imagine, Sam, it might go a bit like that for Norwich this season. I think they might have some really good games. They might have, where you've got a young team and a manager new to English football. Are you seeing it play out like that? Or, I mean, the obvious upside is this is the start of a run for them. But what are your thoughts just briefly on Norwich cruising past Watford?
Yeah, I mean, supporters really elated, weren't they, with what they saw at the weekend? But yeah, I think inconsistencies early part of the season was to be expected. I don't know if maybe it's going to require a few windows just to get all the areas as strong as they would like to have a real fist at promotion. But yeah, I think they've got some terrifically talented players. We've probably not seen the best of Nunez and Sainz over long periods of time, but sporadically last year, my goodness me, Sainz in particular doesn't half score some beautiful goals. So they've got some talent in their ranks, and as I've already said on today's show, for me, they've got one of the most complete strikers in the division. Just needs to probably start improving his conversion rate, but I think everything that he gives the side is really positive. So I think anywhere, if they can get in the playoffs this year, I think that's an achievement. I think it's an appointment that probably needs a little bit of time. And if they can have a positive season this year, they'd be very much amongst the front runners next year, wouldn't they?
Well said. No concerns at Norwich, but time to go to cause for concern for us. Sam, I'm going to run your mind back to a very tense playoff semi-final a couple of years ago between Middlesbrough and Coventry, and the boys, Harmer and Gyökeres, made the difference for Coventry, and Mark Robbins did a number on Michael Carrick. And we said last season, okay, we get it. All those teams have just been completely pillaged and split up. It'll take them a year to get back. Here we are at the start of this season. Most people predicting them to beat both top 8, top 6 at least. And it's not quite there for either side, is it? Middlesbrough in 12th, Coventry down in 19th, having their traditional bad start. I thought Middlesbrough looked really flaky against Sunderland, Sam. It was very obvious what Reggie Lebris was doing, right? You have the ball, compact 4-3-3, and you're going to give us a chance. We're going to take it and win the game. And everyone could see it coming. And that's exactly what happened. And I mean, maybe you can shed more light on Coventry than I can. I just don't get it. I think they've trended so well, and their squad's probably better than it's ever. Take out the 2-star players, yeah, we get it. But in terms of balance, better than it's ever been, and yet one win from the first 6. So a double cause for concern, Sam. Borough and Coventry. Who do you want to speak about?
I'd probably have more concern about Coventry, like right now. I say concern, but I'd probably think that Middlesbrough are going to start picking up results sooner. Coventry looked to have a little bit of a lack of a threat at the weekend. Certainly, they didn't carve open Swansea, and it didn't amount to great opportunities. So, I would be a little bit concerned just because I felt so encouraged about the second half of last season and how some of the new signings had finally settled and were looking really, really, really pivotal moving into this season. So, I think you can't overlook the loss of obviously Hamer and O'Hare in the last couple of seasons. Two talismanic players for them, but then you have some lads with really good experience they've lost from the squad over the last 12 months as well. So I think this is a different looking team. I've spoken about the changes in the coaching staff as well. So they've lost a lot of leadership, and they've brought in players in Redoni and Mason Clark who have struggled to have a great impact and may take a little bit of time.
Great point about leadership, Sam. I
may
take
a little bit of time. I think they've maybe only won 2 out of the last 12. I could be wrong on that, so please comment if I am indeed incorrect. But I think it's probably just a product of that. Do I see them improving? I do, but I'd probably say I don't see it as a season where they're going to be threatening. And I think if we rewind to the summer, I think that was probably my sentiment there as well, that, I don't see them having enough, or at this point being in a potential midst of another promotion challenge. For Middlesbrough, feels a little bit more simplistic. They seem to have a lot of the ball, very, very comfortable in possession, and just lacking a little bit of a clinical edge at the moment. In terms of the statistics, they're making plenty of chances. Wasn't overly evident at the weekend. That said, had 2 of the best chances of the game, maybe in the first half, between the 2 strikers in Conway and Latte. I was a bit surprised he went with both of them. I know one of them can drop in and what have you, but I just thought against Sunderland's midfield, which has been an area of the pitch where they're getting so much credit,
really
he might have wanted extra Barlasser or whoever was available to go in there and have a little bit more strength in there. But yeah, Conway and Latte, obviously Conway certainly should have scored. And that's been the reoccurring theme, hasn't it? So I haven't got, massive concern that they're going to have a season of struggle. The other thing that jumped out to me today, I think Matt Clark scored 1. The 2 strikers have got 1 each. There's no goals from midfield and no goals from the wide positions either. So, of course, you want your strong suit in goal scoring terms to be the strikers, but it doesn't half help if you've got Isaiah Jones or Finn Azaz or people like that. People more than capable of getting goals, popping up with big moments. Finn Azaz has had the 3rd most attempts in the division.
He's got crazy numbers, hasn't he?
It's just Whittaker and Hamer that have had more shots, and those 2 shoot from everywhere. So it would suggest that Finn Azaz is having the odd pot shot. So they need contributions coming from all areas. It can't just be about the 2 forwards, especially if I anticipate Michael Carrick more often than not going in with just one of them, or certainly at times he'll play just the one up there.
And to think Finn Azaz and Whittaker are in the same team for so long, just give them the ball and let them shoot for everywhere. Right, let's have a look ahead to, round 7 coming up this weekend. Right, it is Plymouth versus Luton. Check out Sam on co-coms for that on Sky Sports on Friday night. Blackburn QPR, Derby Norwich, Wednesday West Brom, Hull Cardiff, Leeds Coventry, there's Borough Stoke, Millwall Preston, Oxford Burnley, Pompey Sheffield United, Watford Sunderland and Swansea versus Bristol City. Sam, over on the community tab today, we have a poll up for what should be the mouth-watering matchup. And Sam, schoolboy error, never put Leeds in any poll because their fans just bloody game it. So it's no surprise that Leeds versus Coventry has come out with 46% of the vote. So we will go with that one. And I mean, you've just spoken about Coventry. Is there any chance Mark Robins actually starts to come under some pressure if because they'll be expected to lose that game, Coventry? I know they had good results against Leeds last season. They could be in the bottom 3 at the end of the weekend. And He's the you would think the most entrenched manager, given what he's done for that club. But every fan has a finite amount of patience. Does it start to become pressure building on Robins?
I would say not at this stage, but yeah, if we're talking further down the line and things don't improve, I wouldn't even say considerably, because I don't, probably expect them to be ultimately challenging this season. But yeah, no, I think he's got the support you would like to think of everyone. And I think outside as well, he's got huge support, hasn't he, from neutrals. And he's often someone that gets spoken about in the national press. And I don't know how much that counts for something, but it would probably sway the owner maybe a little bit to be a little bit more patient at times, if that makes any sense. But no, I wouldn't imagine so. I think we just go into this game where I tried to articulate some of the problems as I see it, and I'm not, watching every minute of every Coventry game or, in the area, or too au fait with some of the new recruits. But from what I've seen, what I've read, and what I've gathered from the last couple of seasons under Mark Robins, this is just a bit different, and it's a period where there's been quite a lot of change in quite a short space of time. So to be suggesting that he'd be under pressure now, I think is really unfair, and we probably have to give him a dozen games at least to see if he can get a little bit more rhythm and a bit more consistency. But it would always been a game where I'd have fancied him coming up with something here.
Well, has he got Parker's number, Sam, after last season?
I can't see it at the moment. I think Leeds at home would be too strong for a team that's in indifferent form, who aren't showing, great signs of consistency. So no, I'd be really strong on Leeds to get the home win here at the moment in time. And like I said, by the time the reverse fixture comes around, hopefully my sentiment will be different, and I think it probably will be.
Yeah, agreed. Leeds would move to 2 points per game if they do get the win. Coventry, well, it's that early in the season that you can always have a big move with a win if you're down in the bottom half. So that is our mouth-watering matchup for round 7, Leeds and Coventry. And Sam and I are filming the predictions after this. They will be out on Wednesday, although should we start the mind games now? I'm thinking Sam's going to go home win on that one. Speaking of mind games, it's time for us to go head-to-head in the quiz. I think Fev called it a drab draw last week, Sam. So I think you're still up by 1 in match play terms. I think I'm right about that. This is our 6 of the best, curated by our good mate, Fev. Do you want me to go? You were very disadvantaged by going first last week, Sam. So do you want me to go first this week?
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Right. You have got unlucky Kentucky. Which 6 teams have hit the woodwork most often this season? 4 guesses. You're looking for your 3 out of 6 to get your point.
Sam, someone said in the comments, West Brom hit the post 3 times this weekend. So I'm going to start with West Brom.
They're not in there. It's exactly what I thought. They're not in there. I can't even see the totals. Here we go. There we go. On post. I don't know what that means. Oh, yeah. Derby. Derby have had the joint most. Yeah, Derby have had the joint most.
Why are you giving me
Sorry.
the answer?
I don't know why I've given you that.
Derby.
Derby, correct.
I'll take Derby for 1. Who have they had the joint most then? Who's had lots of shots? So I think you said Harmer shoots from everywhere. So I'll go Sheffield United.
No, Sheffield United is not there. I don't even think you'll get this, mate.
So third guess. So this is my last guess, and you literally gave me one. Let's go for something random then. I know Millwall have had lots of shots. Millwall.
Correct. Millwall have had 3 on the woodwork.
Okay. Should we just go for something ridiculous? Because they've had a horrible start. Pompey.
Nah, they're not in there. Oh, that's relief. Has just washed over me after I gave you one. So I don't know what I said. So Derby with 3, Watford with 3, Stoke with 3, Millwall with 3, Leeds with 3, Oxford United with 2.
You threw me. I started going down the table. Put it that way, Sam.
I could be wrong. There's a lot of numbers in front of me. I might have read that out incorrectly in terms of the amounts, but those are the teams you were looking for.
So a miserable failure for me. Super subs. Which 6 players have 2 or more goal involvements? So either a goal or an assist from the subs bench this season. So which 6 players, the super subs, 2 or more goal involvements off the bench this season, Sam?
2 or more?
Mm-hmm.
Carlton Morris?
Yeah, he got them both in the last 10 minutes of the last game, didn't he? Carlton Morris, correct?
I did something on this the other day. Oh,
you didn't, did you?
No, not exactly the same, but there was an incredible amount of goals from substitutes last weekend, I think. Players coming off and getting braces. Okay. How about our mate Ahashi?
Yes, he's got 3.
There we go.
Or has he? I think he has. Yeah. So that's 2 for 2, Sam. Only 1 more needed for the win.
Oh, no one's jumping out at me. Let me have a look at the table if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah, do it.
It's not great. Did he come on and score? Don't know. Tommy Conway?
Tommy Conway is not there. So you got 1 more guess, Sam, to get the win here.
Oh, it's too hard.
It's difficult this week, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really hard. I've got nothing. What about Naki Wells?
Naki Wells is not on there, but his teammate Fully Maiulu was, as was Joel Piru. This was an absolute bitch of an answer because Sammy Smodics is on there, who doesn't even play in the Championship anymore, and Michael Smith of Sheffield Wednesday.
Scored opening day, didn't he?
Yeah, I feel Fev's making it rather hard now, but you're still up by 1 in the match play. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week. Sorry, a bit of a stacked show. We're going to be back on Wednesday with the predictions. 2-2 draw, all square for today, and Sam by 1, I believe, in the quiz. Get involved down there in the comments. Get involved with the quiz. If you are an audio podcast listener, this will go down Spotify each and every week. 3-game week next week, as we suggested. So we'll be in early for the predictions, but you won't hear from Sam fully until Thursday. So, Sam, always go to you for the last words, and you've got kind of 10 days to fill here.
Blimey. Yeah, we'll enjoy the football. Enjoy the League Cup, I think comes around first, doesn't it? And then Friday night, big game, Plymouth against Luton. So, been a brilliant week, actually. Brilliant weekend. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Hopefully more of the same this week.
See you on Wednesday for the predictions. See Sam on Friday on Sky TV. And then it's predictions. And the next one of these will be next Thursday. Thanks for watching. See you soon.